Namaste viewers, welcome. Today I am talking about the subject Rahu in the second house. Second house is a person's horoscope, stands for aspects like speech, family, wealth and food. Provided the Rahu is your second house is beneficial, you are bound to become affluent in your life. You will also have a rich life partner and also get some assets from your in-laws. You will always have access to royal comforts and richness to enjoy. You will have a flair for tasty foods, alcohol and non-vegetarian foods. You shall have a powerful speech and influence people with your talk. Your sexual drive shall be uncontrollable, and several politicians share this position of Rahu in their horoscopes. You will enjoy a long life through. Whenever Rahu comes to your second house, you shall find good prospects coming in your way. The Rahu is the second house in fortunate for the native's personal wealth. His or her business will prosperous. He will accumulate wealth fairly, rapidly, and many strokes of luck will urge him onward. It also favors a rich marriage for love with an intellectual partner of tall stature, gentle disposition, and clear complexion. People with Rahu in second house are always hungry of accumulation of treasures, and these treasures could be historic possessions, wealth, and even storage of knowledge. There is a strong desire to collect food, knowledge, money, and valuables. Such people want to be associated with a noble lineage and history. These natives use their descent to give their life an edge, but soon move away from their family values. Whatever ancestry they are born with, these natives try to make themselves appear from a privileged social prestige than what their financial position actually shows. Position of Rahu in second house in a horoscope give a influx of money through unethical and unconventional sources and foreign connections, admired for a money matters but poor in terms of family, influenced by the wicked. As per Vedic scriptures, usually Rahu in second house is not good for family life. Here it creates destruction or separation in the family. These man and woman with favorable Rahu in second house will earn money with lot, but will have to choose among family and money. If money, then no family, and vice versa. The person also acquires mastery over languages, often to be associated with high ranking, bloodlessness, and historic values. Native may also uplift his or her status from second marriage. Such people get attracted to knowledgeable and socially privileged people. When afflicted, Rahu in second house causes stammering, speech disorders, separation from family, poverty, discords with relatives, dissatisfaction, and mixed lineage. A favorable Rahu placed in the second house with the owner of the 11th house will be capable of making the native get wealthy suddenly. If Rahu here is connected with Saturn, the owner of the 6th or 8th house, or their dispositors, the native may not able to build up a bank balance. This will be further confirmed if the owner of the second house is also connected with this combination. He may have troubles from the banks and other financial institutions. A well-placed and powerful Rahu here will confer status on the native and gains from the government. If the dispositor of Rahu is powerfully placed in an angle, there shall be a sudden gain of wealth for the native. The native will have illness that arise suddenly, or he may meet with unforeseen misadventures. Rahu in the second, Rahu gives wealth but only after the age of 34, and it gives it in massive amount. Rahu in the second house makes the native fight or argue with his or her family and relatives. He or she has different view on family, and usually these folks either move out of the house at an early age or they move to a foreign land, as Rahu in second, fourth, ninth and 12th house take a person to foreign lands. Rahu in Taurus or in the second house and Ketu in Scorpio or the 8th house. Taurus is the sign of self-sufficiency and wealth. It is represented by bull, which signified wealth in many cultures for centuries. Taurus is also a sign of food, the face, and one's family and environment. The Rahu in Taurus person or in second house is a person trying to develop their self-sufficiency and wealth in this lifetime. It usually takes a while for someone with this placement to acquire any savings. Rahu in Taurus people do not have a sense of their own self-worth. They may not ever ask for a rise or take low-paying jobs because they cannot instinctively feel their inherent worth. To feel worthy, they may seek fame because fame is a type of material validation. Rahu likes to compensate by going very far from the direction of Ketu. This means the person may set their sights on becoming very wealthy. However, this is not the proper remedy. Taurus and the second house are places where we have responsibilities and where we must take care of things. Being validated for a task of taking care of what is your responsibility is the way to develop. Rahu in Taurus or the second house this lifetime. If you take care of animals, your home, your spouse, your children in a way in which you are truly fulfill your responsibilities, then you are developing Rahu. Ketu's placement in Scorpio or in the second house shows someone who has developed a lot of emotional security in past lives. These people do not need a lot of emotional support. They are very secure emotionally and do not need help from friends or family when they are feeling down. However, they are not completely secure until they develop material security shown by Rahu's placement in Taurus or in the second house, focusing on Rahu's placement will give them a more well-rounded view of what it means to be secure in life. These are expectations to these rules, however, which apply when the ruler of Ketu is with Ketu or the ruler of Rahu is with Ketu. In that case, the native will be perfecting the Ketu's placement of emotional security and learning to effectively use other person's money and resources. When a person has Rahu in second house, he or she must make a face impression on people to make their money. What does this mean? This means people need know your name and replated your name to your face in order for you to make money, just like an actor, public figure, spokesperson, or anyone who is selling anything in this world on a billboard, television, and nowadays social media network. Rahu in the second house from Jupiter. People who have Rahu in the second house from Jupiter will talk roughly and chances of having scare on the face. These people may face danger of death at the age of 1 to 2 years. These people will have harsh voice and may suffer from throat or thyroid problems. These people will waste a lot of money, and because of this tensions prevail in the family. These people will see a little bit of stability in life after marriage. These people have changes in the domestic, professional front at the age of 12 and above. These people may have financial loss or loss in journey at the age of 26. This is a chances of easily death of the spouse in a few cases. These people may gain money from friends. These people may spoil the happiness of the father. These people will lose their friends at the age of 38 and construct a house at the age of 38 to 39 years. Thank you.